This has been a powerful rally, and one that is absolutely unique. It is the only event marking May Day and Marx's bicentenary that has presented to the working class a genuinely Marxist and socialist perspective in response to imperialist violence, authoritarianism, exploitation, and censorship. Bringing together workers from around the world, the rally has embodied the call sounded by Marx and Engels more than 150 years ago: workers of the world, unite. I'd like to conclude with a few points. What does this rally represent politically? The world is fraught with danger and crisis, as the speeches today have made clear. The ruling class is going on the offensive. It's seeking to rip up everything, to destroy pensions and health care, to destroy wages, to organize a further transfer of wealth from the working class of the world to the corporate and financial elite. The Trump administration here in the United States is the embodiment of all that is filthy and reactionary in the corporate and financial aristocracy. The criminality and corruption has been vomited up in the present administration. But what do the Democrats, the nominal opposition, represent? What do they propose? A neo-McCarthyite campaign centered on demands for further aggression in the Middle East and against Russia, a campaign that is being used to justify the censorship of the internet, the greatest attack on free speech since the Second World War. This is an international process. The rise of far-right forces, as many of these remarks have pointed to, the AfD in Germany, far-right movements throughout Europe, are on the rise. Yet the traditional bourgeois parties, what do they offer? Macron in France is carrying out a vicious assault on the working class. The traditional parties of the bourgeoisie internationally, like the Democrats here in the United States, are carrying out an offensive against the working class, an offensive against democratic rights, and preparations for war. The danger of world war is extreme and immense. Over the past several months, the American ruling class has launched bombings against Syria with enormous consequences. No discussion in the media about what are the implications of a war with Russia, a war in the Pacific. Yet this is what is being planned by the ruling classes. And in think tanks and military reports, the generals have said that the war on terror is over, and now it will be a war involving great powers. At the same time, the conditions facing the vast majority of the population all over the world are declining. Workers face brutal exploitation and the destruction of basic social services and jobs. As Comrade Julie's report made clear, there's one expression of the assault on the working class is the horrific conditions facing refugees all over the world. We'll talk, as she pointed out, to final solutions to refugee problems. All the filth and the horrors of the 20th century are being rejected. However, there is another side to this same process. The ruling class and its state and media instruments are powerful, but the international working class is more powerful when it is united and organized into a political movement. As Marx insisted, the contradictions of capitalism not only produce misery, oppression, slavery, degradation, exploitation, and war, they also produce the revolt of the working class. There is not only misery, Marx wrote in 1847, but also the revolutionary side of misery, which will overthrow the old society. We are marking at this rally 200 years since the birth of Marx. Of course, there have been immense changes since Marx's time. However, we live very much in the era of Marx. Indeed, the tendencies to which he pointed have developed enormously over the past 150 years. The global integration of production, the growth of the working class, and above all, the antagonism between the working class, the vast majority of the world's population, and the bourgeoisie. And we are beginning to see this antagonism burst into the open with the development of the class struggle all over the world. Comrade Vijay in his report cited the Chinese saying, which I thought was an apt one. The wind sweeping through the tower heralds a storm rising on the mountain. And it is an incredibly powerful storm that is rising. In the first May Day rally that we held in 2014, we made the point that the American working class is the sleeping giant of world politics. And now that working class is rising and fighting back as part of an international movement of the working class. Comrade Vijay also cited the statement of the Indian corporations, this vicious statement that they, in response to any threat of opposition, that they will do a Maruti Suzuki, that is, that they will carry out a brutal repression of opposition. Well, the workers will respond in like kind. Indeed, the call of workers to do a West Virginia is one which has been made by teachers over the past several months, by which they meant that they will carry out a fight as the teachers did in West Virginia. And that will happen. There'll be a growth of the class struggle, development of struggles, not only in the United States, but all over the world. But what is above all required is that the lessons be learned. The lessons be learned about the role of the trade unions, about the role of the parties of the ruling class, about the role of the upper middle class organizations that promote the unions, that promote the politics of race and gender and identity, that seek to oppose and undermine the independent mobilization of the working class. A new politics is necessary, a socialist politics. It's necessary not to be swept behind the political establishment by nice men like Corbyn. Of course, we have our own nice man here in the United States in the form of Bernie Sanders, who ran in the last elections and got millions of votes from young people and workers. And what has become of that nice man? He's now in a major figure in the U.S. Senate, fully supporting the anti-Russia campaign, the bombing of Syria, the attack on immigrants. Such is the outcome of such nice politics. Or, of course, the reactionary Tsipras in Greece, who's the front line in the assault on immigrant workers and the demands of the banks of Europe. Of course, there'll be countless others that will be brought forward to divert and channel the class struggle. However, a different type of politics is necessary and a different type of politics is advancing. The future is socialism. The political perspective outlined at this rally is that which must guide millions of workers entering into struggle against the capitalist system. The perpetuation of the capitalist system means world war, dictatorship, ever greater levels of inequality. The alternative is socialism, the reorganization of economic life to meet social need and not private profit. In Comrade Norris' introduction, he stressed that Marxism is scientific socialism. It is rooted in the indissoluble connection between the scientific analysis of the capitalist system and political practice. As Comrade Norris stressed, the ideas of Marx were inseparable from his political activity, and the ideas of Marxism today are inseparable from the fight to mobilize the working class in the struggle for power. The essential task is the building of a revolutionary leadership, as the speakers today stressed. This revolutionary leadership is the International Committee of the Fourth International, the World Trotskyist Movement. The ideas of Marx and the perspective of the Marxist movement must be brought into the practice of the working class. But the ICFI is the Marxist movement. The Marxism of the 21st century is Trotskyism. We celebrate Marx, but based on the historical development of Marxism in the 20th and 21st century. We call on all those listening today, now is not the time to stand on the sidelines. It is the time to take an active part in the fight for socialism. I want to conclude this rally with an appeal to all those listening to join the Fourth International. Join the Socialist Equality Party in your country. To young people, join the International Youth and Students for Social Equality. Participate in the fight to organize and mobilize workers all over the world in a revolutionary movement to overturn the capitalist system, end inequality and war, and establish a society based on equality and socialism. Thank you.